We also want to talk about some enforcement trends that we're seeing. And, obviously with COVID, there's been some recent developments that might be relevant to you. So first, back in 2020, there were issues that came up related to, using telehealth. Obviously, it was being used way more heavily than it was probably being used before. And so, HHS wanted to make sure that they were accommodating the fact that, COVID is, a serious pandemic, and they wanted healthcare be available. And so basically what they determined was that they would waive potential penalties using their enforcement discretion for good faith use of telehealth services, whether it be FaceTime or Skype or something like that. And that should be continuing, as I believe, through the entirety of the public health emergency and until HHS determines that COVID is no longer a threat.
In 2021, they released a very similar type idea that with good faith, these web-based or online scheduling apps that a lot of providers started using, once again, are more protected under HIPAA as long as you were using good faith when implementing these applications for scheduling. And this is a retroactive application. So although this didn't come out until 2021, it goes all the way back to December of 2020. And then moving into 2022, we had two more notices that came out from HHS. The first being that HHS released the Notice and Guidance on Gender Affirming Care, Civil Rights, and Patient Privacy, which essentially just stated that HIPAA explicitly prohibits disclosure of gender affirming care that is PHI without an individual's consent, except in incredibly limited circumstances. This was just made very explicit and clear to the extent that it was already protected under HIPAA rules. That still exists. They just wanted to make that statement. And then on June 13th in 2022, so like a month ago, HHS released the guidance on HIPAA or on audio-only telehealth, essentially stating that covered entities can continue to use remote communication to provide audio-only telehealth as opposed to audio and visual when those communications are consistent with HIPAA. So these were just statements saying, we're just going to explicitly say this in case it wasn't clear, but a lot of it was already permitted under